Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence. Today we have with us Standing Wheelchair Company. Hurry back and join us. Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence, but just ask. Today we have a returning guest, the Standing Wheelchair Company, President Dave Masick. Hi, Dave.
How you doing, Marsha?
Glad to have you back.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Dave, now your show went over very well with our audience, and we had phone calls and requests for you to come back to give us a little more information on the standing wheelchair. Basically, what we were concerned with is that the mechanics of the chair. Can you give us some mechanical information on the chair, Dave?
Sure. Let me show you once again how this works. This operates just like a regular wheelchair, that any chair you might see out at any hospital or out on the street, except when the person that's in the chair performs two operations, this being one of them, and then by moving a lever right over here, then they can stand themselves up. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to make this very easy for people to go up and down, Marcia. We've got people who are spinal cord injuries, paraplegics, quadriplegics, people with MS, children with muscular dystrophy, people with spina bifida, head injuries. So what we wanted to do was to design something that would be very simple to use, be very secure, and easy to go up and down. And how this is accomplished is, I'll show you. First of all, the chair is made out of a special material, an aircraft material. It's a 4130 steel. It's called chromoly, is kind of the shorthand of it. And it's the same material that's used to make aircraft and racing cars and racing bikes. So it's a high strength to low weight ratio material. Now, all the areas where the metal comes together, that we've got it TIG welded, so it's a real strong union in the material. And then all the bearings on here are sealed. So what we try to do is to make something that is really strong, where the people are in the chair aren't going to have a lot of problems with it, and it's going to wear for a long time, because the chair is a little more expensive than other chairs. So once they get the funding, we hope that that's going to last for a real long time for them. So now these will come on and off of the chair, and these come on and off like this. Now, but the key operation of it is how easy it goes up and down. And I'll kind of turn this here a little bit. The secret of how that is accomplished is by the use of, go back up here again,
all right.
by two gas cylinders. It's compressed nitrogen. There's one there, and there's one on the other side of the chair, which camera may not be able to see. But that's the same component that's on the back of a hatchback or a van. It's compressed gas, and what that does is that counterbalances the person's weight. So theoretically, when a person is in the chair, they would weigh nothing. It's very easy for them to take it up.
Now let me ask you this.
Sure.
Does the shocks ever go bad?
Well, they can. They're tested for 18,000 cycles, 18,000 up and downs. So somebody could really get a lot of use out of it. And they lose about 1% of their pressure a year. And in cold weather, they don't operate, they operate a little slower. But by and large, it's a component that we've used for a long time with very few problems.
So in the event that, when you say cold, what effect does cold air have?
Yeah, what it does is it slows down the movement of the molecules in the gas, so there's not as much pressure. The principle of this chair going up is, if you can envision a teeter-totter, and it was perfectly balanced, and you had two 300-pound guys on each side, a 300-pound guy here and a 300-pound guy there. One guy couldn't lift up the other guy because we're assuming they weigh the same. Theoretically, by pushing a finger on one side, you could lift up this 300-pound guy here. Now, you aren't lifting 300 pounds because his weight's negated by this guy. So you're just the differential. So that's what happens here. If a person weighs 100, we set the cylinders to equal 100 pounds going up. If they weigh 200, we set the cylinders for 200 up. So effectively, when they're in the chair, they weigh nothing. Just by changing this fulcrum point, that takes them up or down.
Now, the chair is prescription order, right?
Yes, it is. Yes. You have to have a prescription to get the chair. And that can be obtained by either a doctor of physical medicine or a neurologist or an orthopedic surgeon.
When you say prescription order, Dave, normally that's like glasses, hearing aids, and things like that. So does weight play an integral part in the prescription, and body shape and all that? Is a person measured or by their weight, by their height?
Right. Well, when the doctor prescribes the chair, that normally they would look at that person's diagnosis and what that could do for them, because in a couple of minutes we'll have a doctor who will talk about some of the physiological benefits of standing. What we do is when we see the individual, that we would have them get in the chair, and then we would test how much they weighed, how tall they were, and then we would find a point that it would be easy for them to operate. Then we would make adjustments to fit it for them. Like this size chair right here is kind of set for me, but in about 15 minutes I could set it for your height. We could raise up the foot plates and we could make adjustments.
Okay.
So what we do is chairs are built for a certain seat width, then we customize them for each individual, for their height and weight and their disability.
Now, could a quadriplegic person use the chair?
Oh yes, about a third of the spinal cord patients that have got the chair would be quadriplegics, that from C6, C7 on down can operate the chair. And in the second segment, we'll have a fellow who's a quadriplegic who can take it up. Again, it's very little effort to go up and to go down once it's set right for the person. That's kind of a key thing, is the fitting of the chair.
Okay. Okay. Well, I had a couple of questions for you, and I wanted to know about, is there a warranty on the chairs, you know, as far as the cost factor?
Yes, yep. The chair, everything on the chair is warranted for a 2-year period, with the exception of the tires and the fabric. So if anything were to happen, if something were to break or a part were to wear, that would be replaced within a 2-year period. However, our experience has been that once a person kind of gets the hang of everything, that their basic maintenance is just to kind of keep it clean. That, again, the chair will wear pretty well. Okay.
So when you say there's no warranty on the tires, now, do tires actually wear out?
Oh, they sure do, yep.
Okay.
And so they, depending on how a person uses them and how fast they go. So if you were maybe 16 years old and you were racing and you were doing a lot of things, you may go through a set of tires in 8-9 months. If you were 68 years old and you just lived at home, a set of tires could last you for 4 years. So it's going to depend on that individual and how they use them.
But they can contact the company and get replacement parts?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. We've got replacement parts for everything that exists on our chair because we make it ourselves.
Now, what is the processing time for a chair? How long does it actually take to get one?
Well, once we've got an approval, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks if there's nothing special. And special, I mean, since we're a manufacturer, we can make some modifications that other people wouldn't be able to do. So if somebody needed a higher back support, or if somebody was an amputee and they needed a rest for their arm, or if they needed a certain lever, an extended brake lever, there are certain things that we could do in the manufacturing process. That would just take a little more time. Normally it's 3 to 4 weeks if it's 90% of the ones, and then the other 10% maybe take an extra 2 to 4 weeks. So.
Okay, now does the insurance company help pay for the chairs in any way?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that we see is getting better and better all the time, that the insurance companies are seeing that if a person who's confined to a chair can stand repeatedly throughout the day, that they're going to be healthier. This Saturday, we're going to have a gentleman that is going to come in and pick up his new chair. Prior to getting his first chair 5 years ago, he would get a thing called decubitus ulcers. His skin would break down. And he was in the hospital for 2 or 3 months at a time, every year for 3 or 4 years. His insurance company had probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in hospital care, plus when he goes home, they put him on a fancy bed, and that's rent for $3,000 a month. Since he's been standing up, he's had no skin breakdown, no hospitalization. So now the insurance companies are seeing that, sure, this chair is a little more expensive initially, but for the extra couple $1,000s, if they can avoid somebody going into the hospital, they save a lot of money. And plus, that person who's going in doesn't have to eat hospital food for 3 months. I mean, they don't have to go through the aggravation of being in the hospital.
Okay.
So.
But what happens if there's no insurance?
Okay, and then there are a number of agencies that have helped. I'll give you an example. Like if somebody's the victim of a crime, there's a fund in Lansing that called Crime Victims Insurance that has helped people. There's the MS Society has helped people with MS who haven't had. The Muscular Dystrophy Association has helped to some degree. Also, the Veterans Administration, if somebody's a veteran, has helped. But also, there's some people that have got no means, and what we've done is help organize fundraisers where people would, a church group maybe would put together a bake sale. And in one case in Lansing, we had where they did a basketball game. And so at the basketball game, they raised funds, and they had drawings and things like that. And we had a lot of people that they've been able to raise funds who had no insurance at all. And we would help them do that. We would show the chair and go to the bake sales and do things like that. So.
Well, Dave, why don't we go to the portion of the video where the doctor tells us a little bit about the chair?
Great.
Okay.
Being confined to a wheelchair is a very debilitating experience. Wheelchair users are prone to skin breakdown, urinary tract infections, muscle contractures, and respiratory problems. One simple thing a wheelchair user can do to promote long-term health is to stand up. The physiologic benefits of passive standing are numerous. Standing relieves pressure over the ischial and coccyx areas and redistributes weight to the legs and the feet. Standing provides strength to the long bones and reduces the possibility of osteoporosis. Standing assists gravity in helping the digestive and urinary tracts and promotes urinary drainage. Standing helps to stretch the hamstrings, heel cords, and hip flexor muscles to avoid or overcome muscle contracture. The human body was meant to stand. Almost every major body system is assisted by the process of standing up.
Well, Dave, that was a very interesting tape right there. I'm sure that our audience will get a better understanding of the purpose of the chair. Let's go to a commercial break and come back to our second half with our guests. Thank you.
What are you doing?
I'm waiting for my sister Mary. We're going to play.
Do you and your sister play a lot?
We didn't used to. She didn't like being around me. She was very unhappy.
Oh, what changed her?
Some nice people helped her to like herself again. And now she even likes me again. Do you know something?
What's that?
I think she always liked me. She just forgot how much.
Ah, I think you're right.
Hi, welcome back to the second half of the show. For those of you who are just joining us, we have the Standing Wheelchair Company. The president, Dave Masick, and his guest with him is Kevin De Bono, a GM employee. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, how are you, Marcia?
Glad to have you with us.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Kevin, we usually start off with one of our general questions, and that question is, can you give us a little brief history on your disability?
Yeah, I'm a C6-7 incomplete quad. I had an automobile accident and broke my neck. And I got a spinal cord injury out of it.
Okay. And so, actually, how many years?
It's been 9 years now.
Okay. Yeah. And when did you meet Dave, or how did you come in acquaintance with the chair?
Well, I met Dave about 5 years ago at the Michigan Wheelchair Games. I got involved with some sports and decided to participate in the games. And David happened to be there, and he had this chair, and he come up to me and asked me, you know, would you like to try this thing out? And I looked at it, well, what is it? You know, and he said, well, you know, you can stand up very easily in this chair. So I gave it a try and fell in love with it. I just couldn't believe it. It was amazing, and to this day, I just love it.
Okay. Now, I noticed down here that you are a GM employee in the Health and Safety Department.
Yes, I am.
Okay, can you tell us now, how did you manage to maintain your job, or what was the criteria for you keeping your job?
Well, at first, I didn't have this chair. I've been working for General Motors for a while, and in my everyday chair, I have increased tone and spasticity, which make it very difficult to sit for any periods of time. And with this chair, it's enabled me at work to function much better, being able to stretch out by standing, bearing weight on the bones has been a great benefit to me.
Are you still performing the same job that you had before, or is it another type of job?
No, I'm in a different position now, but basically I can do just about anything in there.
Now, you're a model employee at Junior?
I'd like to think so.
Okay, okay. Because I'm not sure for certain if the company has a lot of persons with disabilities, but are you one?
As a matter of fact, I'm the only one in a wheelchair that's at our plant. I do know of another person at a different facility who is in a wheelchair, but it's new at my plant, me being in the wheelchair. And
you get a lot of questions asked and everything?
I sure do. You know, a lot of people look at me like, why are you working? And I just, why are you working?
Right. So actually the chair has helped you in your job performance?
Oh, very much so. Like I say, I don't think I could work without the chair for that period of time that I do, because of the fact of, yeah, I have chronic pain, and this alleviates a lot of my pain.
Okay. So you actually think the chair has, or do you know for sure the chair has helped you in your health condition?
Oh, I know for sure it has. Definitely, it's helped my bladder out. You know, like I say, I've got a lot of spasticity, and being able to stand periodically through the day helps with my bladder function and muscle contractures that I have, and it greatly reduces my pain also.
Okay. And is your chair, now you take your chair out on your outings, like when you go out shopping or anything?
Oh yes, yes, it comes in handy for a lot of different things, you know, as far as shopping, some shelves tend to be quite high, and I can pop right up and get what I want without asking for assistance.
Okay, so that must be a great feeling.
Great feeling of independence.
I'm sure. Okay. Well, Dave has proven to us before about that when he was on with us before, with Don Cooper, the aircraft mechanic, and Larry Dilworth, the photographer, and we were very honored to see all of the gentlemen, you know, perform their duties in the chair. I think it's beneficial for the public to see this program, because basically they'll have understanding that you don't always have to just be stationary in a chair. You can go back to work, you can go out as you were and attend a lot of fairs. You know, you said you were playing basketball when you met Dave? Were you actually playing sports at the time when you met Dave?
Yes, I was playing basketball at that time, and into some wheelchair bowling also. So
how is your activities now?
Great. I participate in bowling, basketball. I've even tried golf.
Now basketball, I'm going to ask you, so when you actually going down the court, do you actually go up in your chair and toss the ball in?
No, no.
Okay, okay. I'm about to say, isn't that cheating on the court?
That's against the rules.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, but you may be one out of a lot of players that have the standing wheelchair?
Yes, but actually playing basketball, I play in a separate chair that I use.
Okay.
Playing basketball.
What about golf? You mentioned golf, so how are you in golf?
Golfing, I play.
Okay, okay, okay.
Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
I have fun with it.
Okay, well that's fine, okay.
Kevin had an interesting experience just last week or a couple of weeks ago in reference to golf that he just told me earlier. I forgot about. You want to mention that?
Oh, I actually played golf in a simulator, indoor golf.
Okay.
They have simulators, and it's great to have this chair to be able to do that. I can pop up and take a swing at the club and see where the ball goes.
Okay. Well, I'm sure, Kevin, that, you know, it's surprising to a lot of people who see you along the way that you are as active as you are. So were you quite active before the chair, or how did you actually?
I've become much more active with the chair as far as different functions go, you know. Yeah, I was active beforehand also. But like I say, this has enabled me to go a lot longer, have a lot longer days because of the chair, alleviating a lot of problems.
That's good. Okay, now Dave, can you tell me what type of jobs actually, you know, can a person perform in the chair? I mean, since you go around and meet with people in various locations and situations, can you tell me a few jobs that you may recognize?
Sure. There some jobs that people just could not do unless they could stand up. We've got people who run drill presses, who operate mills, lathes. They need to stand up to do that. We've got people who are auto mechanics who need to get up underneath cars who now can stand all of a sudden. Or they can stand at an automobile engine, they can take these down and they can go into the engine compartment, which they couldn't do otherwise. We've got a fellow over in Milwaukee who's a band director. He stands up. We've got a table, a tray that we put on here. He puts his music up here, and you can see all the people in his band. We've got people, a chemist who works in a laboratory to get up and to do things in a laboratory counter. And there's some occupations that even you don't necessarily have to stand, but it's far easier if you stand. Like, say, for example, a school teacher. We've got a lot of school teachers. Now, when the school teacher stands up, you can see the troublemakers in the back of the class. When you reprimand a student, you can stand and you can do it from a standing position. You can stand up for the national anthem. So the school teachers tell me it's not, they still could teach sitting down, but their level of stress of being able to control that class is far less when they could stand up throughout the day.
Now,
and even,
what about, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what about children? I mean, you know, do you have a lot of children that are currently in the chair?
Well, we do, but the real small children, you at least have to weigh 60 pounds and be about 4'6" to operate the chair. So that's generally about at the 6th grade level. So if somebody is smaller than that, they won't fit in our smallest size. And so we've got some mothers who have seen the chair and their boy is just a little too small, and so I think every night they stretch him. They really want him to grow so he can get in the chair. However, we've got a number of students, because in a classroom you need to get up to a locker or to get up to a blackboard, or if you're making a speech you can stand up and do that, or get books from a shelf, or even just playing video games. And it's so, in addition to the independence that you get from standing up, the sense of self-esteem by looking people in the eye. Rather than having people look down on you all the time, now you can look them in the eye, or in some cases look down on them, which is a big change. And it's very emotional. About 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 people, Marcia, who stand for the first time, they're moved to tears. I mean, when you see them stand up and their eyes get this big and they haven't stood in 6 or 8 years, it's very, very emotional. I've been to some weddings where people have stood up for the first time. Everybody is crying. It's
well, Kevin, did it move you the same way?
Absolutely. I was amazed, and right off the bat, I said, I have to have one of these.
And how was your family? How did they take it?
They were thrilled.
Okay.
They were thrilled.
Okay. I mean, I could tell that the chair gives you, you know, your self-esteem back and the ability to want to, you know, I'll say live, because some people are at a point, once the accident occurs, they feel like the life has ended right then and there. But I can tell from the guests that the chair has given them the will to want to live and to continue on and do well. So let me ask you, Dave, do you think that more people will have this chair in the future?
Oh, I think absolutely that right now we're a small company and not many people know about us. Almost everybody in a chair could benefit by repeated standing. And so I think as more people know about it, it's going to become commonplace in the future because it makes so much sense. It's a little more money, but what that gives an independence or sense of self-esteem or improved health is just minuscule, really, when in comparison to what it can do for an individual. So I don't think there's any question, in 10 or 15 years, almost everybody in a wheelchair, when you see somebody stand up on a corner, you won't even think twice. It'll just be, that's the way it should be.
And by then we'll have blue chairs, green chairs, red chairs. Should be a multitude of colors.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
For sure. Okay. And so now, in actuality, do you travel around? I mean, through all the states or wherever?
Well, yes, and we're starting to go national. Just a couple weeks ago, I was down in Houston, Texas, delivering a chair for a fellow that his mother saw somebody else in a chair, and she says, "Oh my God, I just can't believe my son could be standing up. How come nobody told him about this 8 years ago when he had his accident?" And so we went down and delivered one to this fellow in Houston, Texas. And we're starting to set up distribution throughout the country because there's so many people, again, who just don't know that something like this exists.
Okay, okay. Now, so at this point, is there an age criteria or not an age criteria?
No, the oldest person we've got in the chair is 84. So now somebody, if they haven't stood for a long period of time, Marcia, they might not be able to stand, maybe because their bones are too osteoporotic. So it's important that somebody, after an injury or after they get into a wheelchair, get into a standing program as soon as possible. But there are a lot of people that are in nursing homes who could benefit by change in positions. Because you change positions, less chance you'll get skin breakdown on your hind end.
So Kevin, has that worked for you, that you have less skin problems and everything? And what about the muscle spasms?
They've decreased dramatically. Like as I stated, I was real spastic, and I stretch out periodically through the day quite a bit. And there's different situations, getting drinks of water, you know, water fountains. They're not all handicap accessible, and this enables me to just grab a drink of water wherever I'm at. And there's many benefits whenever you have to paste things on bulletin boards, and comes in handy with work and out in the community very much.
Well, thank you. Okay, well, I tell you what, gentlemen, we're going to wrap this up, and we appreciate you coming again, Dave, for the second time. And the audience loved the first show, so we had to bring it back so we can make sure that we had all the details, and we'll make sure that your numbers on, you know, the credits and everything. And Kevin De Bono, I appreciate you coming out, and we enjoyed you very much. Tell GM we look forward to seeing them soon. And, you know, we want to come out there and see you at work. We're going to close with a statement from Dr. Perlman in reference to the chair. But before we go, my name is Marsha Florence, and you know what I always say, if you know someone with a disability, don't be afraid to ask, just ask. I'm your host. Thank you.
When I first had experience with this wheelchair, it was revolutionary. It was one of the biggest advancements in enabling me to help rehabilitate my patients. I know that over the next 5 years or so, it will become commonplace for patients to be able to use technology like this to be as independent as possible.